We're going to go through the circle and the circle runner and some of the variations we did in class today. So if you were having more fun than you thought you needed, let's see what we can do with that. All right, so I've got my general header that has name, date. If I got really excited here, I would add PERIOD and 4. All right, it's going to be the circle. We're going to continue looking at parts of a program, and then we're going to add the scanner to the runner of the program. So as with all programs, we're going to start public class and the name. The name has to be capitalized, and if you look up here, you'll find that I have saved this as Circle.java, so the name of the file and the name of the class are the same. The next thing we need is an instance variable, and I declared this a double, and it's called radius. And after the instance after the instance variable, we are going to have a constructor. So let's put this in. So the constructor has the same name as the class. It is capitalized. It looks very much like a method, but it does not have a return type, and it starts with a capital letter rather than a lowercase letter. It's declared public so that it can be gotten to from the outside. So when I call to make a new circle, this is public and I can get to it. I'm going to pass in as a double R, and then in my constructor I'm saying radius, I'm going to say is being set to R. So this is an assignment. I am assigning R to the radius, and radius is my instance variable. So my parameter R is on the right. My instance variable radius is on the left. And now I'm going to have a method. It is going to be public, so again I can get to it from my runner. This is my return type, double, so it will pass back to the calling program a double, and its name is getArea, and there is nothing inside the parentheses, so I'm not going to pass anything in. And I have my open and closed braces, and I'm doing this the long way. I'm going to declare a variable called area as a double. So this is my variable type, this is my variable name, and it is being assigned math.pi times radius. So as we remember from pre-cal, pi r squared, and it turns out that in many computer languages, it's faster to do multiplication than it is to call a method to do this squaring. And then I'm going to return area. So when some program calls for area, or calls the getArea function or method, calls the getArea method, it's going to get this return to it. All right, so now I compile that, and I was a good person. I did everything I was supposed to. I have a method called getPerimeter. It also is public. It also will return a double. And so double perimeter equals math.pi times 2 times radius. So 2 pi r will give me the perimeter, and then that gets returned. And if you'll notice, when I click here, that turns green all the way up to the opening brace of the class. Each one of these guys, I have an opening and closing, opening and closing, open and close. So all of that works out very nicely. Now, I didn't make a separate runner program. I simply kept my square runner, and so I'm going to, ignoring some of this for a moment, I'm going to declare circle C1 to be a new circle, and I'm going to pass in a radius, which I set up here. So circle C1 equals new circle. So that calls the constructor and constructs a new circle, in this case of radius 1. I now say I'm going to declare a double, a data type that is a double, area C1, and it will be assigned to C1.getArea. So that says that my new circle, C1, and it is going to call the getArea method. And what gets returned to it is going to be put in area C1. And then I can print that out. So let's compile this, and we'll run it, and we'll get past all of the other stuff. All right, there it is. The area of circle C1 is etc. 3.14159, whatever. So that took the radius 1, sent it in, I got the area back, and I printed out. And now I'm going through that whole thing about because I'm dealing with doubles, things can get interesting. So I declare pi as a double, and I say that it's going to be area divided by radius times radius. Well, since we calculated area as math.pi times radius, if I take the area, divide it by radius times radius, I ought to get pi back again. So the next thing I do to check and see if I did is I define a Boolean variable. Boolean variables can be either true or false. I call it is equal, and I assign it the question effectively, is math.pi equivalent, or excuse me, have the same value as pi, which I got up here. And to ask if they're equivalent, I use the equal sign. And then once I've done that, I'm also going to define a double called diff, which is going to be the absolute value of the difference between math.pi and pi. And finally, he said, we're going to print out whether they're equal, what the difference is, and then finally I'm going to do the parameter. So the value of is equal was true, there was no difference, and then that's my parameter, no big deal, 2 times that. All right, we had run this with a radius of 1, and I said that if we take this out and we put in 3.14 as a radius, and save it, compile it, and now run, and if we look, it says the value of is equal is false, so that math.pi does not equal pi, but the difference is 4.44 times 10 to the minus 16th. There's a really small difference. And my point was simply that if you have values that are doubles, asking to use the equal, we're going to have to make some corrections as we go along. So we can look at the absolute value of the difference and say, if this is, say, less than 10 to the minus 10th, then we'll call it equal, and we can do that, and we will work with that. Now, the other thing that I want to do is come way up here, and I want to import the scanner. Okay, this is going to allow me to take input from the user. So it's import java.util.scanner. So now let's come back down here. I'm going to comment that out. Now, and I just call it KB because it's a keyboard. And so my scanner KB is a new scanner for system in. Okay, so I'm going to be taking input from the keyboard. And now I'm going to have So I'm now going to prompt the user to please enter a double for the value of radius. And now I'm going to steal this, always believing in stealing whenever I can. So I'm now going to say double radius equals kb dot next double. So I've saved that and I compile it. Life is good. I run and it says please enter a double for radius. So if I put in 1.0 and hit enter, then I get everything that I hope for. And I can run it again. And if I put in 3.14, it does the same thing, tells me it's false. Okay, so these are the two things we really did today. We wrote our circle class, and let's see if I go to the actual program. I declared the class name, an instance variable. I then have my constructor. I have my method. MET. I have a method to calculate area, and then I have a method to calculate perimeter. And in my runner, I then added at the very top, I have import java util.scanner. And way down here, I declare the scanner KB for input. I ask the user for input, and the double that comes in I set to radius, so that circle C1 new circle and the radius gets sent in. And then this calls the area method, and I print it out, and we do all of the other stuff. So there you have what did we do in class today.